To the point, formative, entertaining, and protecting the Second Amendment. Welcome back to Elfster's Rifles and Reloading and part 5 of this PSA 6.5 Grendel firearm review series. Now, quickly, if you are new to this video or my channel, I actually have a series going on with this particular firearm, and we are up to part 4. This is part 5, obviously, but we did a quick overview in part 1, shot some factory ammo. We did the initial reloading in part 2 and part 3, and then we shot those reloads in part 4, which this firearm shows some real promise. And I can definitely tell the more I shoot this firearm, the more accurate it gets. And this barrel definitely needs some time to break in. So that said, if you're new to this video, I'd highly recommend going back to part 1 and starting this series from scratch. So with the 123 SMKs and XBR 8208, the clear winner, I think, was that 27.5 grains of powder, and that's at the very high end of that spectrum. In regards to the 123 ELDs and Varget, that 27.7 definitely had a really small bug hole group. It had a little bit of a flyer, but it showed some real promise. So I think what we're going to do here, at least for me, especially being that 123 SMKs, that XBR 8208, the overall target in itself averaged sub MOA, and the groups are more consistent. The point of impact was more consistent. So I'm actually going to reload 30 of those with the 123 SMKs and the XBR 8208, and then I'm going to reload the remaining 20 with 123 ELDs and Varget at 27.7 grains of powder, being that I only have 50 total pieces of brass here. Now, I got this brass, if you remember, if you've watched this series, initially from this factory ammunition, the Hornady black ammunition. So once we fired that, it was on its first fire. On part 4 here, when we shot those reloads, that would be the second fire. So we are officially on the third firing of brass in regards to this firearm. Now, I'm not going to go through all this reloading rigmarole with you guys again. That's what part 2 and part 3 is for you guys, showing you how I reloaded for this particular firearm. In essence, I'm doing the exact same thing other than sticking with these accuracy nodes. Obviously, with the 123 SMKs, XBR 8208, we're going to drop 30 rounds of 27.5 grains of XBR 8208. In regards to the 123 ELDs with Varget, we're going to drop 20 at 27.7. So it really is that easy. Everything's the same. We're just going to stick with those particular powder drops. So with all that said, before we knock out these primers and get this brass washed up for the resizing process, we need to fill out another information card. Okay, so this is our old information card from part 2 and 3 and our 50 pieces of brass.
So we are going to fill in a new date here. Today is 3/8/20, and we're back to the 50 pieces of brass.
We are on now the third firing of this brass. So
we're going to put 3 for third fire, and this is a 6.5 Grendel.
Hornady brass. It's now on its third fire. We are still going to use that bumped headspace of 1.2135. So now that this stuff is fire form, and I kind of touched base with this at the end of part 4 here, but I'll just do this again. So this has a primer in it, and we need to knock that out so we get an accurate reading. So we bumped that headspace back from the first initial fire forming to 1.2135. I believe that brass was at 216, and this should be back at 216. So we're going to re-bump that back to 1.2135. It's 1.2135 inches. We're still going to stick with the same trimmed brass length, 1.512 to 513 inches. Still sticking with the CCI 400 small rifle primers. And we're also going to stick with the same seated ogive and coal lengths. And the SMKs are at 1.674 and the ELDs at 1.678 inches. All right, so we're going to stick with that 123 SMKs, the XBR 8208. So we are going to load up 30 of those at 27.5. And as for the 123 ELDs and Varget, we are going to do 20 at 27.7. And being that Varget was getting somewhat compressed, I think that's fine to go on the lower end of the spectrum, especially with that bug hole group that we came up with. So I'm not going to bore you with all this reloading again. Next time you guys see me, it's going to be with all these reloads done and out at the range. So just a quick clarification with this information card from part 2 and 3. This actually should have said second fire, not first fire. The first fire was on the initial factory loads. I do make mistakes. So anyway, that should have said second fire, and now we are on the third fire. So enough of the BS talk. I'm going to see you guys on the flip side once these are reloaded. All right, my friends, we are sitting here at the 100-yard mark, and we got our freshly made reloads.
We got 30 total of the 123 SMKs, 27.5 grains of XBR 8208, and we also have 20 total of 123 grain ELDs, 27.7 grains of Varget.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, it's pretty windy out today. You know, it's not the most ideal shooting conditions for shooting bug hole groups. You know, sun's pretty much full bore right now, so we got a little bit of mirage, and there's a good amount of wind going up and down. So, you know, it's not the best, but hey, it is what it is. So let's get this going. Okay, so we're going to start out with the 6x5 group, 6 total 5-shot groups, 30 shots shot in a row. And we are starting out with the 123 grain SMKs with the XBR 8208. And I didn't rigorously clean this barrel. I want to keep it somewhat fouled. But all I did is run a bore snake down the bore about 3 times with some G96, and that's about it. So enough of the blabber talk. Let's get this going on the first 5-shot group. Okay, so I did fiddle around with my scope a little bit, so I got a feeling I'm way off of this first group. So I think I'm gonna have to adjust up quite a bit. So I'm gonna hopefully stay on paper here for this first 5-shot group, and we'll go from there. All right, so I need to adjust up considerably. So let's make those adjustments on the scope. We'll move on to the second 5-shot group. Okay, so like I said before, I ran a bore snake down this bore about 3 times, so it might take a little while for that bore to fall out. So these first couple of groups, I'm pretty sure are not going to be overly impressive. Let's just keep on going, see how this works. Now I did adjust the scope this time, so hopefully we're on bullseye. Looks like I shaped that last 5-shot group to the right. Alright, so it looks like I need to adjust to the left a little over a minute of angle, so I'm going to make that adjustment here. Oh, that looks potentially like a good group. I think there's probably 4 bullets in a bullet hole. We'll find out here. All right, let's move on to the 5th 5-shot group, and I'm shooting these all the way through, no breaks. Just to give you an idea of how much heat this barrel can handle. So let's give this a shot. Looks like that last one shanked over to the right a little bit. Wait for this wind to die down. All right, 30 rounds shot and roll. Let's go down and see how we did. All right, so you know what? It's not too bad. I guess I was hoping for more. This is our first 5-shot group. After I filled around with the scope a little bit in the reloading room, I'd say that's a little over an inch. Our second 5-shot group, after I adjusted the scope, so that's right about an inch. This one's probably about, let's say 3/4, maybe 7/8, 7 inch. I didn't adjust between these two. Made my next adjustment here. Now this is a pretty damn good group here. If it wasn't for this flyer, it's probably about an inch, 1.25 inches, and probably pushing 1.25 inches. So, I would say that's averaging a little over an inch. I guess we'll know better once we get to the reloading room. I was hoping for better than this, but hey, it is what it is. It's a little windy, but you take what you can get. Alright, so let's move on with the ELDs with Market. 20 total rounds, 4 5-shot groups. See, I had a half bad start, probably a little over an inch. So let's move on to our second 5-shot group. Well, that group definitely opened up a little bit. I think I'm gonna let this barrel cool down a little bit before we move on to the last 2 5-shot groups.
Hi, Todd.
How you doing, buddy?
I put a new barrel on the 6.5. I put on.
Nice.
See what happens.
Okay, so I've been using this 20 round mag. I think I'm gonna switch over to this 10 round mag, see if that makes any difference here. So let's load up 5. Wow, now that's a smoking group. Now that makes me curious about this other magazine. The followers definitely has more tension in this 10 round mag compared to this other one. I don't know, let's try another 5 shots, man. That is just weird. It's not a bad group 2. If it wasn't for that one flyer, that'd be smoking. So let's head down and see how we did. All right, so yeah, definitely these 123 LDs came out on top. I'm just curious now if that larger round capacity magazine is somewhat of a culprit here in regards to how this is impacting. Yeah, this group here is definitely smoking. That's about a 1/2 inch group, about 3/4 inch group. And 3/4 inch is probably a little over an inch. So yeah, not too bad. I think we're going to keep on working with this load development, and I'm going to stick with these ELDs over the SMKs. So I'm looking at the brass here. Brass looks good. Primer pockets look good. No real cratering of the primer pockets. The sides of the case body look really good. No dents. Case mouth opening is round as can be. It looks really good. Look, got somewhat of a dent there, and this case mouth opening, that's nothing to balk about. Yeah, no signs of overpressure. Looks really good.
Okay?
Yep. Well, take it easy, my friend.
Yeah, catch you later.
Well, I'm back at the reloading room here, and this has me somewhat concerned about my larger magazine compared to the smaller 10-round magazine. I don't know if the spring is losing its tension or not, but I'm going to push on the front of these followers the same amount. Now, you can see that this follower has some slack, some play in it, where this one doesn't. I'm pushing on these the same amount, and I got a feeling that's definitely going to affect accuracy. And I've seen this before, especially in AR magazines, when that bolt is coming home with force, that round is getting stripped off the magazine at a different angle, and it can definitely scratch the bullet as it's, going up the feed ramps and into the chamber. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing here. So either I'm going to have to increase the tension on the spring, or I'm going to have to do something for sure, just not use this magazine at all. You can obviously see the accuracy improvement between these two, and I'm pushing on these the same amount, and you can see there's definitely an issue or something I need to fix with this larger magazine. Like with all guns, and especially this gun, it's all about a learning process, especially when you're doing load development. Some things that I'm learning here, at least with this particular firearm, and that's half the fun for me. It's half the journey. So definitely need to look into those magazines. Another thing I'm noticing is this firearm likes to be shot foul. And that is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. And right now I'm wishing I didn't run that bore snake down that bore 3 times. I should have just left it foul from the previous session of going out to the range. And I'm a firm believer of not cleaning your rifle's bore until it tells you that it needs to be cleaned, until those groups start to open back up. Carbon and copper fouling is getting so bad that you definitely need to scrub that barrel down and start over from scratch. But I think on the previous session to the range, we shot quite a few rounds, and I should have just left that bore fouled, and I definitely can notice the more I was shooting this out at the range that the groups were tightening up, especially when I put in those different magazines. The smaller magazine, the 10-round mag, those groups shrunk right up there. And this one here is probably about a half minute of angle. This one here is, without the flyer, it's easily under a half minute of angle for 4 shots, and with the flyer, it's still sub them away. And right now, I think I'm just gonna stick with the 123 ELDs with the Varget, and I think I'm just gonna shelf the SMK XBR load development for now. And this is what load development is all about, reloading and load development. I said this before, I'll say it again. Either you love it or you completely hate it. And for me, I do enjoy it. It's not only going out to the range and just shooting your firearm, but being the mad scientist and doing that load development and trying to find the ultimate load for this particular firearm. And I think I'm getting there, especially if I just stick with this smaller magazine or figure out what's going on with a follower on the larger magazine. You can see that instant increase of accuracy. Well, I think I could do a little bit more load development, but I think we're good to go here. I hate to do too much load development. I've literally seen guys burn through an entire barrel's life by the time they figure out that perfect load. And I'm not one of those guys. I think I'm just going to stick with this. I might play around with the powder drop weight a little bit up or down. But I think this looks really promising. Well, I think I'm going to load up some more of this particular load, and we're going to stretch the legs out on this PSA 6.5 Grendel firearm out to 300 yards and maybe even 600 yards once temperatures warm up, snow melts, and I can get out to the 600-yard range on the other side of town. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this series so far, and if you do, you feel like you're learning something, scratch my back, and I'll keep on scratching your back with this content. Become a Patreon. It helps more than you know. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video.